YouTube, it's your boy Above Average Cody here today to cover all of the changes and how they're going to affect the gameplay here in the ranked arena on Halo Infinite. For those of you that maybe haven't experienced everything yet or have not even gotten on the game yet, or maybe you're just pondering getting back on the game, but there's a lot I want to cover, so I'm going to dive right in. I will open up with I did not get the new map, so I can't really speak on that yet, and there's a couple of the adjusted weapons that I did not get a chance to pick up, so those you'll notice will be missing, and this is solely ranked, so things like the fuel rod spanker and stuff I'm not even going to cover here. So the most important thing that everybody wants to know about is the strafe speed. Now, I believe the strafe speed, if I'm not mistaken, is still the same actual speed. However, the acceleration and how fast you hit that peak speed has been very much slowed down. So in terms of just strafing left to right, you don't really notice a big difference. But if you're doing like the quick direction changes, it takes a little bit more time to make those changes. Now, this, I think, is probably the best change, and why I wanted to talk about it first is it's a big enough difference where players aren't going all wonky left and right. It doesn't completely eliminate jiggle peeking, but it makes jiggle peeking far less of an advantage. It is much easier to kill a player that is going in and out of cover because it just takes that little tiny fraction of a second now to change your direction and get back into that cover. But the change isn't so large where it feels like you're moving in mud or it really changes the gameplay. If you don't really think about the change or you haven't played in a while, you honestly might not even notice it, and I think that's a massive W because you don't want to make too big of adjustments because, again, it's going to feel like we're walking in quicksand here. Now, the new mode, guys, which I do have some gameplay playing in the background, I'm a little bit on the fence with how it's playing. I'm not going to lie to you. The mode itself and the premise is fun. I definitely think it'll lead to a lot of fun stalemates. It's kind of like a tennis match, it's going this way, it's going that way. I like how quickly the bomb, I guess, resets. I like the movement with it. You can still kind of juggle it. You can throw it out of base, and everything seems good. But this match in the background here, if I get through all of it, actually ends in a tie. It was a lot of back and forth for a 16-minute waste of time, and that's kind of where I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that. So it feels like there could be a lot of stalemates. It could have just been the lobby. I'm sure I'm going to see wicked exciting matches on this game mode from the HCS, but my first experience was a brief one, and I'm on the fence about it. I'm 50-50. So fundamentally, I like the game mode. I like many things about it. I just need to maybe get in some games where it just plays a little bit differently than this one did. Now, the next thing that I think is actually the biggest and most noticeable change is the shorter slides. So if you're just sprinting and go to take a regular slide, guys, you noticeably get a lot less distance on the slide. I think this is obviously the most noticeable change because if you're used to the prior length of slides and you were sliding around a lot or slide jumping a lot, you can very much notice the lack of momentum you have now. But I think this makes the long slides, fast slides, curb slides, whatever you want to call them, so much more crucial to have in your arsenal and just have them down really good because you're just not getting as much of a speed boost. And this mixed with the change of direction, I think slows down. It does not slow down the game. A lot of people were saying the game feels a lot slower. I think it feels exactly the same pace. I do not feel a massive change, but it slows down the things that were kind of cringe, the jiggle peeking, and for me, it kind of keeps me from sliding out into the open quite as far because a shorter slide with less momentum makes it a bit more advantageous for how you could potentially chow corners if you're running around a corner fast and you're trying to get the jump on the enemy. So it slows down the game in the right aspects, but it doesn't slow down the overall pacing of the game, I think is the best way I can sum that up. Now, grenades, I will say, feel very different. Now, the time between throwing grenades, the time it takes to reset and chuck another grenade, was decreased slightly, so it does feel slower. And I didn't really notice it too much, but this is obviously a good change because it leads to a bit less grenade spamming, but I wouldn't say it's a big enough change. Again, it's one of those changes where it's like, it's small enough where it helps, but it's not so big where it's like, it feels like you're in slow motion trying to throw grenades. but the grenade bouncing. Now, they changed something with the way the grenades react, and it feels like every grenade now is a godnade. Maybe I was just getting unlucky. Maybe I was just being a grenade magnet, but it literally felt like the grenades were magnetic, because the grenades were taking weirder hops, further hops, and it felt like all of them were putting damage into me. No matter where they were thrown, no matter how I was moving around the grenades, it felt like I just could not avoid them like I did. I don't know if this was their intention. I don't know if it was just a fluky night in the ranked arena, but this is something I really noticed with the grenades, and I'm very interested to see if you guys noticed anything like that. But the bounces do seem a bit more... They just make a little bit more sense to me, and I like that. But if they all feel magnetic, I kind of hate it, because I'm already a grenade magnet if you guys watch the streams regularly. Next up, skill jumps. There's a couple skill jumps they added. The only one I effectively or actually sought out using was the one right by P-Door in front of the base. I really like it. You're definitely going to have to add these skill jumps into your arsenal, guys, because they can be complete game changers, especially if you're in a lobby of kids that don't... Maybe they're aware of the skill jump, but they're not exactly using it or thinking about it. It can be an absolute game changer. So make sure you learn those, guys. Maybe I'll do a video just kind of showcasing the individual jumps, because I took a little tester on the one on Aquarius, and I could see it making some huge plays. It's going to be really fun to watch the pros use it. Next up, the gun balancing, guys. I did not get to try all of the guns. I did not even see Street, so I did not get to use the Stalker. But I want to say the biggest change on the shock rifle is the I believe it's decreased aim assist from the hip. The thing feels so much... It doesn't feel harder to use. It feels like an appropriate amount of skill to use. It felt way too easy to put in damage before hip firing it, and I definitely noticed myself having a bit more trouble with it. You definitely have to put a bit more time into aiming it, and I think it just makes it a higher skill weapon, and they pretty much made it an official power weapon on Recharge now, like it was on Solitude. So I think overall that's a massive W. And I briefly used the Heat Wave, and it definitely felt a lot less powerful, even at close range, with the pellets kind of spreading out a little bit more. So that's pretty exciting too. I'm hoping to see all these weapons just be used more regularly in the HCS, because it's just not as fun as if you were seeing a restricted sandbox. But you guys can feel free to argue with me in the comments there. Now, the weapon placements on these maps is just so much better now. We have the most notable ones that I noticed was Plasma Pistol in long haul, high haul, whatever you want to call it, on Empyrean. It makes more sense. It makes the push through long haul maybe just a little bit more, what's a good word? You just got to think about it a little bit more. You know, did the enemy grab that plasma pistol? Am I about to get railed with a charged shot? Am I going to grab that plasma pistol? Am I going to grab the assault rifle? It leads to a few more decisions there where it was in a really awkward spot at the top of bridge before. In addition to that, there is a BR on the old Needler spawn on live fire. So that is at the base of Camo. Massive W, because if you spawn there and you grab that BR, it completely shifts how you can take gunfights from that position on the map, and I think that's really, really great. And then on top of that, they added a BR, I believe, on the other side of Solitude, like where the FAR team starts on. I'm terrible with my call-outs. By like the pillar ramp over there. I believe they added a BR somewhere on there. I can't remember exactly where the placement was, but the gun placements just make more sense, and they're a bit more helpful if you get those really awkward spawns on some of these maps. And then finally, guys, I have to mention it post-rank reset. The rank system is exactly the same. You're going to place 3, 4, 5 ranks below where you probably were last season. They want you to grind back up, but you're still going to be playing the same competition that you were playing in that rank you grinded up to, because they just want you to play the game a little bit more. And guys, that's pretty much everything I want to cover. That's all the main changes that I noticed, what I liked, what I kind of didn't like. But you'll notice I wasn't too negative about this, but I'm also not being overwhelmingly positive, because people get upset when I'm overwhelmingly positive about the game that I like. But I will say, guys, this update, if you're a longtime player, you've been sick of how stale the game is, how stale the gameplay is, you're an HCS fan, this update is a massive W. I think it's going to be really exciting, again, not only from the viewer standpoint watching the pros, but it adds just a little bit more spice to ranked, and it changes things up. And I have been begging for some change to ranked, and I'm really, really happy about that. But I will say it is not so much change where it's like it's not going to razzle and dazzle somebody that's sour about Halo Infinite. You know, that's why I'm not really screaming about how amazing this update is, because even though I love it, I try to kind of stay on the fence for you guys, because again, people get really upset when I get hype about an update. Because if it's not bringing back tens of thousands of players, people don't really care, and I understand that some people just don't care about that. But yeah, so overall, this update is a massive W if you've been a fan of Halo Infinite. If you're thinking about coming back, I think now is absolutely the time to give it a shot. But again, the changes aren't so big where it's like it's not a shiny new product. It's really not, but they're great. They're great changes, and I'm really, really excited to see them in the pros' hands and in the HCS. So, guys, that covers everything from my ranked experience. I just played for 2 hours, got my placements done, lost 2 games, won 2 games, so I played a decent amount, and those were my experiences. So, guys, subscribe to the channel. Halo grind is in full swing once again. We're gonna try to get Onyx. We're gonna see what happens, but we're gonna try. We've been playing a lot better. I'm really, really happy with my gameplay, my decision making. So subscribe to hop on that journey, guys. Hit the thumbs up button. Leave a comment. Share all your thoughts on this update. What did you like? What did you not like? What did I leave out of this video that you noticed changed? And then finally, guys, channel memberships and super thanks if you'd like support monetarily. Helps you out a lot as a content creator, but please don't feel like you have to. But alrighty, guys, this one was long enough. Stay happy, stay healthy, and stay tuned for the next video, y'all.